Hi everyone, this is a video on the introduction to 3ds Max Part 2, and for this purpose of the video I'm using the newest version of the 3ds Max, which is the 3ds Max 2023. 3ds Max itself is a powerful tool which can be used for modeling, modifying, analysis, rendering, animation, and many more. And in this video I'll show you how to create and modify some basic objects using the default tools. We can go to the command panels, and this is where we find all of our command to create and to modify. So under create there is a geometry. We can go to standard primitives for standard boxes, tube, pyramid, and other standard objects. And there is also other primitives such as extended, compound, to create other stuff. For lines and circles and rectangles, so 2D shapes, you can go to shapes and you can basically create that through the shapes. So we want to go here and we can create a box. So basically how we create a box is you go to create standard primitive and create a box, and it will have this plus sign, and that means it's active. So what you want to do is you click and don't release it yet, drag, release, and it will allow you to modify the height, and you can just click wherever you want, and that's the box you can have. And if you want to do again, you can do it another one, and if you're done you can just select move or unselect the box just now. So if you have this object, you want to modify it, you go to modify and you can modify the length, so you don't have to worry about how wide and how tall the box when you create it. You can just create a random box and you can modify it later. So let's say I want to have 300 meter length with 150 meter wide, and the height I want it to be 150 as well, for example, and it will automatically does. There is other stuff here in modifier list, a lot of modify commands that you can use directly to the box. Let's say if you want to twist this box, you click twist, but before you have to click the box that you want to modify first. So in this case this gray box, and you can play around with the angle, and let's say it's not tall enough, and you can go back to the box and you can drag the height, and you can go back to the twist and you can twist it more, and you can also choose the twist angle between X, Y, and Z. And the other modify you can use, for example, a Turbosmooth. So what it does is basically it smoothens the surface that you have. So if you have this really rigid angle and you want to turbo smooth it, you can make it more smoother by making the iterations value higher. Right, it has the warning, so it's not good to have more than 9. You can make it lower, so you can see now it's not that smooth, and as opposed to iteration number 3, for example. What is also important is what we call edit poly, and what it does is basically it's an edit tool, and it's powerful. So this video we're just gonna touch it on a bit. Let's say if you want a random angled objects, you can start from either a box, and you can go to select edge, and you can select the edge. So let's say if you want to choose one, and you would want to randomly create that. Let's say you want to go down a bit, you want to go up, for example, and you have that randomness of the edge. You can also start from what we call extrusion in Rhino, and you can have a line, for example, and you draw around like a closed loop. Let's make it more random. So it will have this pop-up question: do you want a closed spline? Yes. And you would want to select that line, and you go to modify, and you can go and say extrude, and then you can extrude that, and then you can edit poly. And we can create this stuff, and that's basically, let's say that's a quick massing of your building, and that's what you can do by creating and editing a bit. So let's say if you want a terrain, you can go modify and edit poly, and you know that the height and the inclination, you can select shift and drag and release, and shift, drag and release, and that it can extend the plane and copy it around. So let's say that's your terrain, and you want it to be smoother, obviously. So you can go Turbosmooth, and then you can create and put more iterations on it, and it will be smoother. If not, if you're happy for it to be like this, then you can have it like that. And other important thing of the modify is what we call a tease, and that's basically like a frame like thing that will be created from your object. So let's say this one, and I want a lattice, for example, and it will create the frame. And what that does, basically it creates from the segments, and you can go to box, and you can increase the segments, for example. You can't really see it, so you have to go to edge faces, and increase the segments, for example. And I'm going to go to lattice, and it will create those from the segments that you've created. And that is basically the basic on how you create and modify objects on the 3ds Max. Thank you, and see you on the next video.